travelers, Mag, I, and Memom here on day 223 of our trip around the United States. We made it into Yucca Valley last night and waited until morning to come out here to Joshua Tree National Park. And it feels like we are in a whole different world than we were yesterday. In Riverside and San Bernardino, we were about 840 feet worth of elevation. We've come up 2,500 feet from there through the San Bernardino mountain range to reach Joshua Tree National Park. The temperature has dropped significantly. The wind has picked up mightily, and it is significantly colder out here than it was yesterday. Our very first order of business was making sure Memom, who came in out of Florida, had warmer clothes because she was freezing pretty well through and was not going to make a day in Joshua Tree National Park under these conditions. Our whole day is set aside for this national park. There's a series of virtuals and earth caches in here spread around the park that are going to take us the better part of the day. Most of them are short hikes, but those short hikes are going to add up to quite a few miles and a lot of steps today. And I'm sure at the end of the day, Memom is going to have a track of how many steps we did. Hopefully the number is low enough that Aichan will continue to talk to us. It's okay, not that many steps, I promise. We're looking forward to everything Joshua Tree National Park may have in store for us today. Just the drive in to get to this spot that we were at was already breathtaking. And I believe everything else we see along the way is going to be just as mesmerizing. So let's go check it out. Come on, let's go.
Having come into Yucca Valley last night, it was already too late to grab the geocache within the Welcome Center, so we waited until morning and swung back around. Yucca Valley is actually a place I spent a lot of time as a kid. My grandma used to live here. So I was up for just about any excuse to linger in the town a little bit longer. This was the perfect way to do it, as we got to learn a little bit about the city here as well.
We really only have one physical geocache on our list today, and this is it. If I was going to pick just one physical for us to find, a beautifully painted ammo can like this in the California Welcome Center is definitely the way to go. We just had to wait till morning because they don't open till 9, and we couldn't get in last night. We could have, but we weren't about to. So we're going to go ahead and stamp this log, and then from here, the rest of the day is going to be virtuals and earth caches.
There is a possibility that we savored this moment just a little too much. Realizing that this was very likely going to be the only logbook we saw today and the only physical geocache, we took our time thumbing through the contents and seeing everything this fully loaded ammo can had in store for visitors. Located only about 8 miles east of Yucca Valley, it was a quick hop into Joshua Tree. This city hosts one of the 3 main entrances into Joshua Tree National Park. The bulk of the 3 million visitors per year who come to Joshua Tree National Park to see its world-famous rock formations, funky Joshua trees, and rich diversity of plants and animals will pass through the visitor center here at the west entrance. And this is the right place to get acquainted with the 2 main features of the park. Of course, the Joshua Tree, but also the rock climbing opportunities that are presented on the trails out here. Not that Memom and I would be doing any climbing at all during our visit to Joshua Tree National Park today, but we did see many people geared up and hitting the rock surfaces, climbing to the heights. First declared as a national monument in 1936, it was not until 1994 when Joshua Tree was redesignated as a national park. With just shy of 800,000 acres to explore out here, this park is actually just slightly larger than the state of Rhode Island. Taking Park Blvd all the way through Joshua Tree National Park, you can expect to drive between 35 to 40 miles depending on which entrance and exit you are using. And if you are just planning on driving through and not doing any significant hiking, this can be a great way to see many interesting places in the park in just a couple hours' time. The road will bring you past several interesting spots you may want to check out, including Hidden Valley, Cap Rock, Ryan Mountain, and Skull Rock. Short detours, like we added, can also bring you out to the Keys View and Barker Dam. In fact, the Barker Dam Trail is where we would end up squeezing in most of our hiking time for the day. From the trailhead near the Keys Ranch Road parking area, we made our way north through many interesting geological features, circling in east toward Barker Dam, This allowed us to take the trail as a loop rather than an out and back, ensuring that we saw different scenery all along the way. And while it did admittedly make the hike a little bit longer, we both agreed that it was worth it to get to see everything this park had to offer as up close and personal as we could get. Reaching Barker Dam at the end of the trail provided us just the smallest glimpse into the early ranching attempts out here in Joshua Tree National Park. And while there is a wall of petroglyphs to be seen beyond the end of the dam trail, this was as far as Memom and I would go, turning around at that point and heading back toward parking. For the most part, the in and out provided smooth trail conditions, but there was one point passing between the two rocks coming together that we had to get a little bit more careful on our approach down to the bottom. Slow and steady wins the race, helping to ensure that we get to our destination with no topples, tumbles, or falls. We were admittedly pretty tired by the time we finally made it back.
Our trip out to Barker Dam had us completely circle that trail right there. How far did we end up going, me and Mom?
I know we've done 11,000 steps, so whatever that equals.
11,000 steps. We're gonna have some miles in today for sure, but this was a good trail right there.
Relocating to a new parking area not too far down the road, we started out once again on the trail, this time on the Wall Street Mill Trail. This is a 2-mile out and back that, like the Barker Dam Trail, is mostly level throughout its entire course. There are 3 virtuals to be discovered along the trail, each of which point to signs of the early ranchers that once resided in the area. Our first stop was the Wonderland Ranch Ruins. Named for the wonderland of rocks in which it resides, there seems to be very little actually known about the origins of the Wonderland Ranch. Often referred to as the Olson House, there seem to be no records of who owned this property before it fell into decay. What we do know is that it certainly made an interesting contrast to the desert scene we've been hiking through all morning long. We did get to learn a lot more about the Wall Street stamp mill that we would be seeing at the end of the trail. The spot began as little more than a well that had been dug in the late 1800s by William McCaney to water his cattle. Then, in 1928, Oran Booth and Earl McInnes filed a claim at the well site, built a cabin, and named the site Wall Street. While they had gone off to pursue other opportunities, William Keyes came in 1931, filing a new claim on the site, building a bunkhouse, an outhouse, and transporting 2 stamp mill ore crushers to the site. From the time of purchase, the Wall Street stamp mill remained sporadically in operation all the way until 1966, processing gold ore not only from this mine, but from other mines in this region of the desert as well. In 1975, not too long after the death of William Keyes, the Wall Street Stamp Mill was entered into the National Register of Historic Sites due to its local technological and mechanical significance. Branching off of Park Boulevard and heading south along Keys View Road is definitely an extension to the main drive through Joshua Tree National Park that I would recommend. Because there is absolutely nowhere else we saw in the park that provides a view quite like this spot does. Standing here at the crest of the Little San Bernardino Mountains, you will have a perfect panoramic view of the Chola Valley spread out below you. With a little bit of daylight still on our side, we decided to branch off of Park Boulevard one more time, this time to detour down Pinto Basin Road. The road stretches for 36 miles all the way to the south entrance of the park, just 1 mile off Interstate 10. We were not going anywhere near that far south though, only going far enough down the road to drop in on the Chola Cactus Garden. This garden is located near the transition zone where the Mojave Desert morphs into the Colorado Desert. By the time you reach this far along the road, the Joshua trees have all but disappeared, being replaced instead by Ocotillo and Chola. This transition zone is the perfect place for the Chola to be able to survive, as the increased access to water allows the area to support a higher number of cacti. It is about a quarter mile of absolutely mesmerizing trail through the Chola Cactus Garden, but you should definitely be careful here, as this cactus is often referred to as the jumping cactus. It is not at all uncommon for small segments of Chola to break off and find themselves attached to people or animals. What a fascinating place to be able to wrap up an amazing day spent here at Joshua Tree National Park, exploring everything it has to offer.
All right, travelers, that is it for our day in Joshua Tree National Park. It was a nice, relaxed, easy-paced day. We started off in Yucca Valley. And on the way into the park, we also visited the Joshua Tree National Park Welcome Center. From there, we came into the park and immediately got out on a trail and made some miles. In fact, do you know how many miles we made today?
Before my phone died, we were at close to 7 miles.
Close to 7. We probably did at least another mile and a half since then. So maybe an 8.5 mile day. We did not make eye contact with all of that. She was very happy to take her rest when she had the opportunity. It was very hard today. So I think it worked out very well for everybody. We managed to get most of the virtuals we wanted and the earthcaches we left behind because the sun's going down. I hope you guys learned a little bit something about Joshua Tree National Park today. I know that we certainly learned a lot about the Joshua Tree and this crazy environment that you see around us where the Colorado and the Mojave deserts come together. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.